So today we're going to talk about the prophet Haggai. He was a contemporary of Ezra and of Zechariah. He only has a very short book in the Bible, only 2 chapters, but I think those chapters are very important for us. Now, one of the things that's interesting about Haggai is that it is a book of the Bible that we're almost certain of exactly when it was written, because several times in the book he gives timing, and he says it was in the 2nd year of the reign of Darius, and then he gives the exact date on the month. So in the first chapter, he refers to the 6th month on the 1st day of the month, that the word of the Lord came to him. Now, you may be sitting in your home and hearing this video, and you might say to yourself, it must have been June. June is the 6th month. But you see, our calendar is not the same as the biblical calendar. And even today in Israel, they work on a biblical calendar. So the 6th month is the month of Elul. Now, Elul is an interesting month because it is generally a month of great introspection, because it's the month right before Tishrei, and Tishrei is when we have the Day of Atonement and Rosh Hashanah, a time of the year that we're in right at the present time. At this time of year, the Jewish people do everything they can to make things right between them and God. So it's interesting to me that God had Haggai stand before all the people of Israel on the 1st day of Elul. Now, the temple was destroyed in the month of Av, the 5th month. So it would have been on everyone's mind that the temple, the place that was so important, the heart of God and the heart of Israel, had been totally destroyed, and it was in front of them in ruins. So they saw it all the time, how it had been destroyed. And so the month of Elul, coming right after the memory of the destruction of the temple in Av, would have been a sorrowful time, a time of great introspection. And so we find in the 1st chapter of Haggai twice that God says, consider your ways. Well, that's exactly what the people of Israel to this day do during the month of Elul. They consider their ways. Now, this word in Hebrew comes from the phrase sim lev, which means put it in your heart. It's used today to warn. Sim lev, watch out, the light is changing. Sim lev, don't touch the stove, it's too hot. So it's a warning, but it literally means put it in your heart. So we have it translated in our English Bible as consider your ways. And God says to the people of Israel, the temple is laying in ruins. How can you think about building your own homes when my house lies in ruins? And he talks to them about the struggles they've been going to, the drought, the harvest not being good enough. And he says, the reason for this is because you've put your own interests first and you haven't cared about my house. So he says, consider your ways. You're only going to be blessed when you start considering God's ways first. And that is still true today. So we go on, and the next time when the date is mentioned is actually the last day of Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles. And it's a holy day that God said set aside as a day of convocation. And it's interesting to me that he mentions this date. So he's coming to them again, and it seems that at that time they started to take it seriously, and they started to go and clear the ground of the ruined temple and started to put the first stones down. And God said, go get the wood from the mountains, and they started to build his house. And then we find these same words, consider, sim lev, and it's translated a little differently in the 2nd chapter. It says consider carefully, and then it says consider now and consider it. So 5 times in this book, we have this phrase in Hebrew about looking in your heart. Well, the first time, it's look in your heart and see your sin. But the 2nd time, it's look in your heart what you're doing for me and how I'm now going to bless you. So I think this is a message for our day. This is the day when we need to be looking in our hearts. Today, Church of God, we need to rise up. We need to rise out of our own self-interest. Whatever that is, you ask the Lord to show you what that is. In our churches, in our lives, in our families, we need to rise above our own concerns about ourselves. And we need to ask the Lord, what is it that you want us to be doing in these times? And I believe when we do that, when we consider our ways, when we put it in our heart, when we put in our heart His ways, that we will begin to walk in far greater blessings than we have experienced to date. This is the time, this is the hour, and I want with all my heart to have what's in my heart be God's ways. I pray that for you today. God bless you from Jerusalem.